Welcome to the Real Demers, where we seek redemption by championing the B-sides, the offbeat, and overlooked. We've worked in and around Hollywood, so we know just how hard it is to get a movie made. This is our space to celebrate cinematic misfits we hope you'll enjoy as much as us. On this episode, we're celebrating Kathryn Bigelow as her next film, A House of Dynamite, will release later this year. So join us on a wire trip as we discuss Strange Days. Greg, boot it. I'm one of your hosts, Andres Anglade, and with me is my co-host.
Hey everybody, I'm Greg Bellavia.
And today we're discussing Strange Days, directed by Kathryn Bigelow, not only to celebrate its 30th anniversary, but also because Bigelow's next film, A House of Dynamite, will release on Netflix in October of 2025. Strange Days was released in October of 1995. It stars Ralph Fiennes, Angela Bassett, Juliette Lewis, and more actors we'll get into later. It was written by James Cameron and Jay Cox, with story by credit for Cameron. Many of you know James Cameron is the writer-director of the Avatar films and Terminator 1 and 2, but I think he only has 3 writing credits for films he did not direct. Greg, do you know what those films are? Do you want to take a guess?
That's a really good
So Strange Days is one of them. So there's 2 more. And it's okay if you don't know it.
I knew this one. I'm not sure off the top of my head of the other 2.
So the other one,
Dark Fate?
No.
Okay.
No, I think he's only a producer on the rest of the Terminator films, but he did not write.
I thought that might have been one of his ideas, but yeah, I guess he wouldn't have written the whole.
It's a good question because these are for sure written by credits. I don't know if he got more story by credits. That's actually a good question. I didn't look that up. But the other 2 films that he has writing credit, Rambo First Blood Part 2 and Alita Battle Angel, the Robert Rodriguez film from 2019. Have you seen that one?
I have friends who love that movie. I guess I should catch up with it eventually.
I haven't seen it. So, just say the word. Maybe it's something we need to visit on this pod.
I knew he worked on Rambo. I didn't know that he wrote. I didn't know he was involved that much. Alita, I assume producing or something like that. I had no idea that he actually wrote it out. I have some friends who I trust their opinion and they're diehard. I guess there's a big push to try and get a sequel out there if you're a fan of it.
Yeah, I mean, the people who like it love it. I feel like there's sort of no in between with it.
It seems like it'd be up our alley. Those are our kind of people. So.
All right, we'll have to add it to the list. Now, Jay Cox, who is the co-writer, has only about 8 credits on IMDb, and they are all fantastic.
Now, this one I had pulled up. I was looking at it beforehand. Funny, they work a lot with Scorsese, of all people, including Silence, which is one of my favorite modern Scorsese's. I think it's a fantastic movie.
I was going to shout that out. He was nominated for 3 Academy Awards for writing. It was for Age of Innocence, Gangs of New York, both for Scorsese, and then most recently for 2024 is A Complete Unknown, the Bob Dylan biopic. But then I was also going to shout out Silence because that's one of my favorite underrated Scorsese films.
I guess we're going to have to save that for a future podcast well.
We might have to add that to the list too, because I love that film and I feel like not enough people talk about it. Looking at Strange Days, it's obvious that Cameron's sci-fi sensibilities are evident, but this is definitively a Kathryn Bigelow film. Mm-hmm. Speaking of Kathryn Bigelow, are you a fan? Do you have a favorite one of her films?
A huge fan. This is really tough. Maybe Strange Days. Maybe I really like Blue Steel. I really like Blue Steel. And that's kind of the sicko version, but also that's kind of what I enjoy about it. It's how dark of a ride it is. Near Dark's great. It's hard to argue against Near Dark. It's so good.
Maybe it's unfair to say, do you have a favorite? Maybe just list a few of her films that you like what you've just done.
No. If a gun to my head, Near Dark, but it's tough because I love a lot of them. And I was a huge Hurt Locker fan. I'm not sure. I felt some blowback after it won big at the Oscars. But
it was a strange thing. There was so much love for it. And then when it finally won, the sentiment towards it totally shifted. People weren't.
I loved it. I think it was great. I think it deserved to win. There's Sometimes there's movies I like that go up that I'm like, oh man, it was a good movie. I don't think it should. I think it deserved to win. Big Zero Dark 30 fan.
Same.
I'm excited for later this year, something to look forward to. Sorry to mull this over for so long, but as a vampire fan, it's hard for me to argue against Near Dark. It's so good. So good.
So I have a confession to make. I have not seen Near Dark or Blue Steel.
Okay, Blue Steel's a real weird one, but that's what I like about it. And also, I think that's going to tie into this discussion today on Strange Days and kind of what works about it and maybe what didn't connect with some folks.
Oh, okay. It's on my watch list. It's just one of those. I mean, there's so many movies out there. You can never catch up on all of them.
So what would your number one be?
Oh, it's Point Break. There's no, for me, there's not even a discussion. I am one of my favorite films ever made. And it's just so good. Everything is just firing on all cylinders in that film. It's amazing. Like,
did you ever see Point Break live?
I did. Yeah.
Oh, that was so good.
Have you gone?
Yes. Yeah.
For those listeners who aren't aware of what Point Break Live is, it is a small stage production of the film Point Break. However, the character of Johnny Utah, played by Keanu Reeves, is actually auditioned and selected from the audience to play. You're basically playing Johnny Utah in the film, and you're using cue cards. Everyone's just having a good time. I mean, they go all out. They do the skydiving scenes. They're running you all around the small theater and the venue. Did you audition? Did you go on stage for it?
No, we went with friends. They tried, didn't end up making it in.
Same.
It's a ton of fun.
Same. I went up, and it came down to me and another guy, and he had a lot more friends there for his birthday. So obviously they went on audience selection. And I'll be honest, I went on a Sunday night, and what I didn't know, and the guy told us later, like I knew someone in his birthday party, so we got to hang out and kind of ask him questions after. And what I didn't know is that they were feeding him shots backstage. And he was like, I was getting so drunk, and I just kept thinking, oh yeah, I had work early in the morning. I'm glad I didn't get drunk, because I would not have been good the next day.
I love Point Break. I think I'm always kind of attracted to B-sides, but like, no, it's amazing. And the part in Hot Fuzz where he's so, have you ever fired a gun up in the air? Just like, it's so easy to love. There's so much going on. Keeping that in mind for later in this discussion, the director of Blue Steel, the director of Point Break, now taking on a James Cameron story. All of that is here. Every one of those narratives is all in this film.
To me, Point Break is the definition of a classic. It's everything is there that anyone could want out of that story. And for me, it's just more personal because I grew up watching that with my sisters. So it's just, we all loved it. It's a lot of fun, and it still holds up. Anyone listening has not seen that movie, you definitely need to check it out.
But I think that kind of brings us to our discussion today. Kathryn Bigelow has had a fantastic career, and yet something about Strange Days has flown a little under the radar. And I know there's a cult following out there. I love this movie. I'm a huge fan of this movie. And Andres, I know that you feel kind of a similar way, and we kind of want to discuss, what is it about this one that didn't... Okay, K-19, The Widowmaker. I understand why that one maybe didn't pierce the public consciousness.
Right.
But like, this one has so much cool stuff going for it. We wanted to kind of like toss the ball around on what's happening here, what works, and maybe why it didn't just get out the same way as some of their other films did.
Before we get to the plot of the film, I wanted to start off with a new category, and we'll see if it works. I'm going to throw it at you, Greg. Just in researching the best way and most succinct way to describe the plot, Greg, how would you describe the plot of this movie to a 5-year-old?
Oh, well, I have a 5-year-old. So let's see. How would I describe this to my son? Well, buddy, it's a science fiction movie about a guy who can see his memories and other people's memories and play them back whenever he wants. And that'd be kind of like my 5. No, obviously, I don't know how much I'd get into. It's about the corruption of police brutality, and, the economic divide here in the United States. But that'd probably be my 25-cent version of explaining it.
Yeah, the other way I was going to maybe say this category should be called, and maybe we'll use it in future episodes, is pitch this movie as a G-rated remake for Disney Plus. This was how I would describe it. And you tell me, not having a 5-year-old, you can tell me if this is something that's too dark or shouldn't even be uttered to a 5-year-old. In the near future, a guy sells other people's memories that you can experience by connecting to your mind.
It works. I like it. He would have some questions. I think that works. I think that works.
Yeah. I realized as I was saying it, I was like, sells other people's memories could come across as really dark. So do they lose the memories? Do they
That's kind of you're actually kind of pitching me. Maybe we're going to talk off mic about what, because I think we could almost take that in a different direction.
When I was trying to find the best plot description, and I just couldn't believe that this was the plot description on IMDb. A former cop turned street hustler accidentally uncovers a conspiracy in Los Angeles in 1999.
Yikes.
That description leaves so much out.
I think that's part of why this movie is not better known, because there's so much going on. And I think you just touched on it. It's hard to encapsulate in a one sentence thing.
They're throwing a lot into this film. I read a review on Letterboxd by Josh Lewis, and he calls it part Cameron tech horror science fiction apocalypse, part De Palma voyeuristic conspirational noir, both ingesting the technological paranoia of a Philip K. Dick or William Gibson and the political/cultural reality of a post-Rodney King riots LA, and venomously spitting them all back out as a shot of pure, sweaty, sensual, and kinetic Bigelow action adrenaline.
I love that. Brass tacks. It's a cop turned street hustler. There's a new technology on the streets. If you're wearing a type of recording device, you can record your memories and then you can play them back for yourself or other people. It's illegal. So he's on the streets, and he ends up as part of a conspiracy that involves that tech. The description you just read, that's it. Now, there's a lot going on there and it's funny and everything, but that does touch on all the plates this movie is spinning. And just what I like about this movie is that's a lot of cool stuff. Now, whether or not every one of those plates gets as much attention as everyone, or it's successful, that remains, we'll toss the ball back and forth. But I like the attempt, and that's part of what I find so charming about this movie is, man, this thing is shooting for the moon.
It really goes for it.
When is the first time you saw this?
I didn't see it when it came out. It came out in 1995. It's set in 1999 at the turn of millennium. It basically covers 2 to 3 days into New Year's from 1999 to 2000. And for people who weren't around at that time, you would not be familiar with how much there was a sort of millennium paranoia of going into the 2000s. People were talking about the Y2K, the end of the world, and all this. And so it's a long way to basically say, I'm not sure if I saw it closer to actually in 1999 when that millennium paranoia really reached an apex. So I definitely didn't see it in theaters. I saw it after it was in theaters. I definitely rented it. And I'll be honest, the first time I saw it, I don't think I connected with it as much as I would have liked. I revisited it years after that, and I actually really, really liked it. What about you? Did you see it in theaters?
Didn't see it in theaters. They used to have the channels on cable that would advertise what was coming up on the other channels, and they would cycle through the same, 5 minutes of content, and you get the same ads. And one of them was an advertisement for this film, and I kept watching that over and over and over just to get the trailer. And I think they had a cover of The Doors' Strange Days over that, from what I recall.
Yeah.
That's how many times I watched it like that afternoon at my grandparents' house. I was fascinated by the idea of it. Blade Runner is my favorite movie. I love cyberpunk stuff, so it seemed like it'd be up my alley. And then I rented
you're a huge noir fan too.
Oh my, yeah, absolutely. So I rented this with a buddy of mine. I loved it. The funny thing is, my dad is a huge cinephile, and he got me into a lot of stuff. So I ended up loaning him the tape, and I was like, great. And then he's watching it in another room, and I'm thinking about all the stuff that happens in the movie, and I'm like, I don't know if I should have done. And then he walked out, and he's like, I'm not so sure you should have seen this. He goes, it's a good movie, but I'm not so sure you should have seen this. So I always remember that being the response. And then I hadn't seen it for a while. I actually watched it on New Year's a few years back, just as a lark. And I was like, damn, this thing cooks. And then I was excited when you kind of brought it up for this episode.
Yeah, and we should say maybe what Greg's dad was responding to, trigger warning for anyone who hasn't seen the film. There are 2 pretty intense sexual assault scenes, and they're not there just to be there. They do play into the story, but it's just a warning to those that may be triggered by them, as they are intense.
While we're just on this topic, I think that's part of what this movie is trying to do so much. I think that's why it hasn't been found more people, because it's not easy just to tell somebody, hey, it's just straightforward. Here's this A to B plot. So first problem, There's a lot to explain because there's a conspiracy plot. There's a killer on the loose plot that like maybe they're connected, maybe they're not, but they're not treated as connected for long. So you're following two different like story threads. There's the main character's obsessed with his ex-girlfriend plot. There's the end of the world, all this table setting for like here we are and like it's about to turn, to the year 2000. That's all great, but it's not the straightforward like A to B is it done. The other part, and this is where I want to talk about Kathryn Bigelow's just kind of prior films coming into this, is Blue Steel deals with a sexual and violent obsession. It's this guy that ends up with a police officer's gun, and he's obsessed with the police officer, and he's obsessed with the power, the weapon it gives him. And it's a very dark movie. And I think that in Near Dark, Bigelow, I think, can go into certain dark places with her films that Cameron doesn't trend. Not to say he can't go there, but I think Cameron's stuff is a little bit more like mass market, like something for everybody. Titanic, that's a total people pleaser movie.
Yeah.
Even as hard R, like Terminator 2, that's a beloved classic film. I think Bigelow's sensibilities in that darkness, that ends up here, and that can be jarring. For example, I wouldn't show this movie to my wife. I just don't think she'd enjoy that she'd enjoy a lot of it. But you get to those scenes that you just mentioned, those would be deal breakers.
Yeah.
Cameron's an amazing filmmaker. It's more of just, there's a certain darkness. This is like a propulsive, great script, very snappy, very quotable. Even before we got on mic, we were talking about how quotable this movie is. There's a lot of expository dialogue, but it's fun. Just the way the characters banter back and forth, you're getting a lot of information. And that's all crowd-pleasing stuff. That's all great. But then you'll hit a scene that's really rough to watch, or just some subject matter. Bigelow doesn't even bat an eye and keeps going. With Blue Steel, the tone the entire time is darkness. With Point Break, the tone the entire time is like, yeah, it's a crime story. People get shot and killed and all that jazz. But still, you're having fun with it.
Right.
This one kind of juggles. I appreciate that, but I can get if that turns you off, or if you want to move, it's maybe a little bit more consistent. But if you're up for something that can maybe juggle a few tones, I think this is awesome.
The opening scene is pretty great. It's all from a POV, as if you are the character experiencing this. And it's a robbery scene. Through chase by police, you fall off a building. You're trying to jump from one roof to the next, and you fall down and you die. And then you come to find out that Ray Fiennes, his character's name is Lenny Nero, is watching this and experiencing it. But then he rips the device off his head, and he's like, this is a blackjack, which is basically what they call snuff versions of these films or recordings. And he says he doesn't deal in those. Basically, Lenny Nero is a street hustler who sells discs that have these experiences recorded on them. So if you have a device that can play this, you can buy discs from him, or even ask him to go out and have someone create a disc specifically tailored to what you want. And I think at the time, and one of our categories is ahead of its time, this opening scene blew me away when I saw it, because this was at the time this film came out, and a couple years after, the POV aspect was not used in any sort of mainstream media. The virtual reality concept of living through other people's experiences and is now so part of our everyday life, and how we watch clips on YouTube and other social media, and even using like Oculus or any kind of other virtual reality. But at the time, it was so revolutionary, and that blew me away.
I think the cyberpunk nature of this is the technology being able to like share memories, but also the tech obsession with it. There's multiple characters here who are overusing it. We're tech obsessed now. I got my cell phone. I would feel weird if I didn't have my cell phone on me. And I'm trying to get off more social media, but I'm still attached at the hip. Even as a parent, I need to know where my, if I need to call my kids, or if there's some emergency call or whatever. So it's like I'm attached to a piece of tech that was not readily available in the same way back in the 90s. Another film that I connect with this is Until the End of the World from 1991, which is a very odd beast of a movie, but that has a technology in it where people can record their dreams, but then they get addicted to the playback there. So I like these films from the 90s that touch on where we're at now, but they obviously didn't have our technology. In Strange Days, the tech is very clunky. I like it, but it's like this device you wear on your head. There's little boxes attached to it. And like, I'm going to hold out, I'm not sure, my phone is much smaller than this and compact. So it's funny, like, you're trying to anticipate what's coming up next, but the emotion of it and the experience of it that it captures, I do think is hitting on something that's like legit. And people nailed this in 95 for dating itself so soon. Why are you going to set a movie in 99 when it's 1995? And it's funny, all these years later, I get that being a complaint at the time. All these years later, I think it looks fantastic and it plays as it's supposed to play.
No, agreed. And I think, to go back to the category itself, it is ahead of its time in recognizing that addiction to technology. I looked up Roger Ebert's review of this film. He actually gave it 4 stars, and he opened it with, "We know we want it. We want to see through other people's eyes. us, have their experiences, stand in their shoes. That's the unspoken promise of the movies. And as the unsettling prospect of computer-generated virtual reality creeps closer, it is possible that millions now living will know exactly what it feels like to be somebody else. And he wrote that in 1995. That absolutely still holds true to today as we are addicted to looking at things online. And that's why I love the aspect of this film where Lenny is basically treated like a drug dealer.
And there's the voyeuristic aspect of it's number one. I mean, like sexual experiences, like crimes. You know, at one point he encounters somebody in a wheelchair that lost her legs, and he gives them a disc where it's a memory of somebody just running on a beach and saying hello to a pretty woman like running by. Yes, it could be used for all this like dirty stuff. Anything could be interesting to anybody else. If it's not your experience in whatever form that takes, that would be then interesting to you.
I legitimately love that scene so much because they do such a good job of setting up how the technology is used for taboo and nefarious experiences that we could never really act out or do. But then his friend who's lost their legs just wants a simple run on the beach, feeling the water between their toes, going for a jog, running by a beautiful woman who says hello to him, and then cutting back to that character's face, just enjoying it. I thought that was such an important scene to include in the film.
Yep.
Because it's a great character beat for Lenny because he basically gives that to his friend as a gift. He just says, hey, I had something special made for you, and gives it to him. And you needed that because Lenny does come across as very, very sleazy throughout the film.
Our categories are just a part where we can highlight some of our favorite moments and performances from the film.
What do you feel, Greg, is the heart of the film?
I have an answer. Again, not to harp on this, I think this is, I'm using quotation marks, the problem is it's a whole bunch of things. And I think maybe if it was just one clear thing, that's maybe would have made it a little bit more like Point Break, very straightforward. Blue Steel, very straightforward. Near Dark, very straightforward. Hurt Locker, very straightforward. This, not so much. There's a lot going on. So I think it's touching on obsession. I think it's touching on, again, this racial conspiracy theory happening there. End of the millennium, like anxiety. I really think it's talking about shared human experience and the ability to move on. In whatever form that's the heart at the end of the day. We're following Lenny, whose big problem is they're obsessed with their ex. They're watching these old discs, like they're getting lost in the past. And wouldn't that be alluring if you had a breakup? Wouldn't that be alluring if you lost somebody? If somebody died and you just go back and you could revisit that time? I understand that. And it's him kind of navigating this mystery with his best friend who, did you clock when they enter the movie? Mace?
Oh, it's like way late.
28 minutes in.
Wow.
Angela Bassett playing the coolest human being on earth. And so it's like, I think they're
Greg, I'm just going to say it. 1995 with this and Waiting to Exhale, I definitely had a little bit of a crush on Angela Bassett.
Because you have a heart beating in your chest and a brain in your head, my friend. That's a natural.
She's amazing.
What's the heart of the film? It's those two. The heart of the film is the relationship of these two characters. So I think the tech is there, the conspiracy theories there, year 2000 there, all that's great. We could talk about that. But to me, the beating heart of this movie is those two characters and their relationship to each other. And it's that relationship is going to kind of carry them through this very traumatic, very trying experience. What would you say?
Look, I had a very difficult time not putting Angela Bassett down as the answer to every single category we have for this because she's that incredible in this film. For me, I think the heart of the film breaks down to the theme of live in your own world and not live in or through the lives of others. There's a great line that it's time to get real, not playback. And playback is what they call having that experience. And again, I think that's what makes this film still relevant today. You know, we all tend to live in what's happening online, consumed by social media, various online forums. We tend not to live in the moment of what's happening around us, and we get lost in lives that aren't ours. I mean, there's definitely been times where my wife's like, hey, put your phone away. But I agree with you. I do think the actual heart of the film is that relationship between Lenny and Mace, Angela Bassett and Ralph Fiennes.
And I think our answers complement each other because I think she's trying to pull him into the place that you're talking about. She's a tough as nails, like chauffeur. They have a shared history. It kind of takes a minute to kind of figure out what that shared history is. He's very head in the clouds. She's very like boots on the ground, but they play off each other. And even when she's being stern with him, you can tell that she cares about him. That's her whole thing is he's got to get out of he's in a scummy business and he's got to stop living in the past. That would be an easy character to screw up. You know, a lot of times in film noir, the good girl is the most boring character in the movie compared to the femme fatale.
Yeah.
And here we have Angela Bassett just kicking all sorts of ass. I mean, they totally get around that problem by having them just be this awesome. But like, she's got flaws too, and Lenny's bad for her. So
Yeah.
everybody's hooked on
Yeah.
something that's bad for them. In this case, it's her friend. So
You know, they always say that half of making a film is the casting. And it's so true because I feel like for Ray Fiennes, Lenny, you could make him be creepy and dislikable, and so many actors wouldn't be able to pull us back to actually make us care about him, right?
there's an old film noir, Night in the City, which I think is fantastic. And it's Richard Widmark. And his character is a dreamer who gets in way over his head. You never hate him because he's a dreamer. And I feel like Lenny's got a little bit of that in him where even if he's making bad decisions, even if he's selling this tech that he shouldn't be, even whatever, he seems like a nice guy. Like he's got friends in this world. Yes,
Yeah.
he's a fast talker. Yes, he might take a little bit of advantage of them. I never doubt that he cares about the friends. It's hard to thread that needle, but I think Ray Fiennes, he's a great actor, and
Yeah.
I think he sells it. So your point, I think somebody else in this role might not do such a hot job. I think
Right.
it's written well, but then you need somebody to really drive it home, and he does that.
Okay, so favorite scene.
I gotta say the end, the very end, because there's I mean, should we get into it or?
Yeah, I think we can. I mean, I don't think we've gotten to the point where we've explained everything that's going on in the plot. So for those listeners who haven't watched, A, go watch it, and B, let's just do a quick rundown. So again, Lenny is this dealer, has these discs that people can experience. A prostitute he knows by the name of Iris comes to him for help, ends up giving him a disc that shows two police officers executing a hip hop artist slash activist by the name of Jericho 1. And everyone realizes that if this tape were to get out, it would cause crazy social upheaval. That's the basic plot, but obviously, like we've already explained, there's a lot more going on. And then from there, we get to the end, which, yeah, go ahead and describe.
Okay, so I think we're going to keep kind of coming back to they're juggling a lot, and
Yeah.
like that's a benefit. That's also a curse. And this is not the everything's perfect podcast. Not everything needs to be a series. Not everything needs to be a TV show. I
Right.
think there's enough plot threads here. You could easily have a 6-episode series if you wanted to, between the technology, between the history of the characters. Again, there's a killer on the loose plot, and the two cops involved in the shooting that Andreas just said, hunting people down plot happening parallel. Maybe there's a version of the script where just one of those things was happening, but I appreciate they're both. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know that all of that needs to be in one movie,
Right.
but I think by juggling all of that, it's all the more entertaining for it. Because again, the murder sequence is legit horrifying. There's horror movies that cannot touch how creepy some of that material is in there.
Yeah.
The cops hunting it down, that's your crime, that's your whiz bang, like big action scene. There's a chase and there's a car on fire at one point. That's all cool stuff. Whether or not the entire movie can sustain all those things at the same time, I'll leave that up to you, but I could see that being a drawback for somebody. So it's juggling all these things. Everything converges on New Year's Eve. You've got the killer plotline coming to an end. You've got the corrupt cops confronting Mace. There's a big fight. There's some police brutality on the Mace character. They're beating her up. There's a near riot. So it's like all this stuff's coming to a head, and we will double back to that in a second. And then finally, order's restored. We've reached the year 2000. We survived, and they're about to bring Lenny and Mace down to the police station. And they have their same banter that we've seen the entire time. And they're kind of led away from each other. Lenny comes back and gets her out of the car she's in, and they kiss. And here's all these people celebrating, Happy New Year. There's confetti everywhere. It's this emotional catharsis for the entire movie that's been smoldering between these two. It's one of my favorite kisses in cinematic history. And I know that sounds cheesy. It's earned. And you've been waiting for these two to like get together the entire time. And you've had such a stressful story that to end on that note, like I love that. The opening's awesome. I think the opening is a great way to bring it in. I also love the chase. That's a Kathryn Bigelow action special scene. That's a muscular as hell like sequence.
Yeah.
But that emotional payoff is so like I would just pull that up on YouTube and just watch that scene. If there's a moment that hits me more than anything else in the movie, it's that moment at the end. And I know it's like spoiler alert, that's my favorite.
That's not my pick, but I understand how strong of a moment that is because it's exactly what you said. It is well earned and you feel it from both the characters.
Yeah.
Lenny has just been obsessed with Faith the entire time. He realizes obviously after what happens in the hotel room, he needs to let that go. But also we've been getting these moments throughout the entire film where you can tell how much Mace loves him. I don't want to keep harping on, if this was cast with other actors, but it's just to emphasize how great of casting was done here. Angela Bassett is just so incredible in having that restrained pain, right?
Yeah.
Of the person you love is in front of you and there's nothing you can really do about it. It just comes to a head at the end where they finally get to express that. I agree. It's a well-earned, fantastic moment.
He even has a line at one point, because she's so frustrated with him for being obsessed with his ex. He says to her, to Mace, "You ever been in love with someone who didn't return that love?" And the look on her face, like she got stabbed in the chest. She looks like she goes, yes, because she's talking about him. And this is simple stuff. It's screenwriting one-on-one.
Feel it. You feel it.
But there's sell the absolute hell out of it. So what would your vote be?
It's not my favorite scene. We spoke about it a little bit. The running on the beach, the mind trip that for his friend. Again, it's just such a great little moment that it's not my favorite scene, but it's up there. It's a scene I can't stop thinking about after having seen the film. And in so much darkness and everything going on that's in the movie, like that scene just stands out. I really like the limo chase. And so at one point they're being chased by the police, the two corrupt cops. Angela Bassett or Mace is a limo driver / bodyguard for hire. So they're being chased. They come to a dock and the cops douse the limo in gasoline and are shooting up the limo. So there's no way for Lenny and Mace to escape. The car's on fire. So Mace decides, F it, we're going to drive off the dock into the water, which I just thought was so great. And they end up surviving. But I think that's my favorite scene. But a scene I do want to point out that I had forgotten about was when they arrive at Mace's friend's party and Lenny finally watches the playback of Jericho's killing. Mm-hmm. And what I love about it is there's a moment as he's watching it where Mace is just enjoying the world around her. Mm-hmm. She's seeing how much fun people are having at the party. They're enjoying themselves. Then she turns and sees the distraught look on Lenny's face. She's like, how bad is it? And he's like, you have to experience it. And
she doesn't like this technology. So she's
never used it. Yeah. She's never used it. And he has to convince her. He's like, you need to use this. And I think he says, I'm sorry that this is your first, this is going to be your first wire trip. And ultimately she sees the footage of Jericho 1 being killed. And to me, it's again, the acting, Angela Bassett's acting is just so incredible there. So again, I will say the limo chase is just for me, very propulsive and great action scene. But that scene of the party and then her experiencing that first wire trip is just so well done.
It's a lot of good stuff. Again, there's action elements, there's horror elements, there's romance elements. Maybe it's too full. I get that. But if you took anything out, it wouldn't be this movie.
Yeah.
Okay, so one thing I wanted to address, I guess the elephant in the room is, I think a lot of this is, how much do you enjoy this ride? And I enjoy this ride. I'm in. It's addressing this conspiracy. It's addressing these racist cops. Your mileage may vary. Because again, I think this movie's heart is in the right spot. I don't think this is the most eloquent way to address police. I mean, think about like the last 10 minutes of this movie. You've got a near riot. You've got like, again, coming out of the Rodney King material, this. And then at the end of the day, what happens? Order is 100% restored. Yeah. All the villains are dead. The old white commissioner is going to restore. It's almost too happy. And I think that might rob some people of like the very end of the movie being like too happy of an ending. I get that. I think that is the one area where the James Cameron sensibilities and the Kathryn Bigelow sensibilities kind of rub up against each other. Because part of me feels like maybe this deserves a darker ending than it gets. But if we're not going to do that, I'm happy with the actors do such a good job of selling that kiss. I'm willing to embrace the fairy tale while accepting that that's probably not the real ending to this story, if that makes sense.
It absolutely makes sense. And that's how I felt too. I mean, my initial thought on the rewatch was no one would believe this ending today. You would not have this ending if this movie came out right now. There was an article I read from 2020. It was titled 25 Years Later, Strange Days is More Relevant Than Ever. It was written by Jay Tyler. And they write, 25 years on, we are still waiting for the fabled 2K of the film's mythology, when the scales of justice are corrected both in issues of sexual violence and racial inequality. What rings true about the film, however, is the importance of connecting with other people. Only by seeing, or in the case of the film, practically living through other people's lives and experiences, is change truly possible. And to me, that's such a poignant observation. It's sad that even 5 years on from that article, those words still hold true.
Yeah.
we're still waiting for justice of sexual violence, racial inequality, and police brutality. It was jarring, but I also wonder if at the time it could have been Cameron, but it could also have been a studio note,
Sure,
like maybe
sure.
they didn't want that dire of an ending.
But that's the thing. I think this is meant for mass consumption, clearly.
Right.
I
right.
don't, this isn't an art film.
Yeah.
I get it. It sounds like I'm speaking on both sides of my mouth. I like how the characters are rewarded at the end. I think that emotionally works. From a screenplay perspective, I think that's the one area where they're trying to throw so much stuff in the air that the juggling act can only go so far. And I think that's why that part rings hollow to me, even if the movie's still entertaining.
And I get that. I think it's chasing a lot. It's obvious, in researching the making of the film, it sounded like James Cameron really did just want to focus on the noir aspect of the story. And it was Kathryn Bigelow who brought in the response to the LA riots and Rodney King verdict, because she helped in the cleanup efforts after the riots, and that affected her. So she wanted to bring that into the film. Now, I'm not saying she shouldn't have done that, but maybe she should have gotten rid of some other elements in the film, right? To make it a bit tighter.
I think the noir elements are cool. I'm going to butcher it. It's paraphrase the Simpsons joke where it's like, do you kids want a grounded, realistic show? And all the kids are, yay! Do you kids want a show with unicorns and leprechauns? Yeah, yay! Goes, so you want a there's a little bit of like, yeah, I love it all. I love it all, but like it can't all coexist and all work at the same time. And also, I'm never going to ding a movie for swinging big,
right?
And that's what this is. And so it's like awesome. I love that it tries. I will just acknowledge. I see people out there who are like, yeah, it doesn't 100% work. I agree with you, but I still enjoy the ride of it, even if it can't land that.
Even Ebert in his review gave it 4 stars, but he said the ending is miraculous. That the commissioner just shows up and sort of saves the day at the end. And I have to imagine anyone watching this film is going to have that reaction where it's just like, yeah, okay. But I'm with you in that does not ruin what came before.
Yeah, I want to believe in the fairy tale.
All right, our next category is most valuable performance. And I feel like if we don't have the same one, I'm going to be very disappointed. Who do you got?
Bassett.
Yeah, of course. Yes.
We're going to go get matching Angela Bassett tattoos after this. And Rafe Fiennes is awesome. Do not give me And I don't think the movie works if Rafe doesn't work. Absolutely. But Bassett comes in 28 minutes, like we said earlier, and just owns the movie.
Owns it.
For the rest of it.
Owns it. The presence.
She's the biggest ass kicker. She gets to play tough. She gets to play vulnerable. She gets to play romantic, a well-written role, and she just plays the hell out of it.
The presence she brings to the screen I'm in awe of it. She's the main moral compass to all of it.
Yep.
She's constantly the smartest person in the room. She has so many great lines too. There's one where, she's like, memories were meant to fade, Lenny. They're designed that way for a reason. And that's when she's like telling him to stop being obsessed with watching his experiences with Faith and get real. Get into the real world. I do have to bring it up. I don't think I knew this, but I didn't realize she was the sound clip for the Fatboy Slim song.
It's so, well, we'll talk more about that in a different category.
Oh, okay.
Yes, yeah. Well cast movie. Juliette Lewis, Tom Sizemore, Michael Wincott, and like Glenn Plummer, man, always unappreciated. He shows up in a whole bunch of stuff. He is Jericho 1 here. Again, oh my gosh, Vincent D'Onofrio, William Fichtner as the 2 cops. Talk about a get. No offense, the cops aren't given a ton to do. They show up, they're evil cops, they do some chasing. They're not people. They're one-dimensional. Now, they're intense one-dimensional villains. They got a great look about them. It's suspense and all that jazz. You could not have called in 2 better heavy hitters. These aren't just 2 Joe Schmoes. These are 2 great actors in these and I know they're not as well known then as they are now. Full Metal Jacket had been out. It's not like this was a nobody in this role. So I just shout out, what a get to have the 2 literally best people in these like one-dimensional roles to sell the absolute hell out of them.
For sure. And even Michael Wincott as the music manager producer, he has such great presence. We should also talk about Juliette Lewis. She plays Faith, Lenny's ex-girlfriend. I wouldn't put her up as most valuable performance, but she does play a very important role.
I think this is a good segue into most underrated.
There you go. Let's do it.
On this viewing, she was my most underrated. Because
nice.
I think in a classic film noir, the femme fatale gets to have the fun and the good girl suffers. Here it's almost a flip, where I feel like Angela Bassett gets to have all the fun and the femme fatale is the Faith character that Lenny keeps trying to save. She both does and doesn't get a lot to do. She gets to sing during the movie. She's this physical presence. She's there the whole time. But a lot of her role is just telling Lenny to get lost. Now, here's why she's underappreciated. You come to find out that she's trying to save his life. It's not just because she's not being a bitch. She's trying to protect him from the people who want to kill him. There's so much happening. Her motivations get lost when there's like 5 other things happening. Oh, I got this killer. Oh, I got this conspiracy. Oh, hey, where's Mace right now? Okay. On this watch, I was able to watch her a little bit more. And she's more sympathetic than I originally gave her. And the first watch, oh, she's in on it. She's kind of with the killer, whatever. And it's not that black and white. It's grayer. And in the end, she saves Lenny. She's not a pure 100% evil femme fatale. And I just think there's so much going on. Any nuance to her gets a little lost in the shuffle.
I'm so glad you said that because I had the exact same reaction the first time I saw it. I felt like the character was one note. She does have 2 incredible singing performances. The songs are actually on the soundtrack. So if you're a fan of the, sort of 90s grunge rock, they're actually pretty decent songs. But I did have one question for you. So in the end, did Faith come back to the hotel room because she wanted to save Lenny from the killer? Was that planned? Or did she just decide to save Lenny in the moment after Lenny basically tells the killer that she and the killer will never reach the heights that Lenny and Faith had?
I think it was an in the moment decision.
Okay. And honestly, I couldn't quite tell. I mean, to me, it would work either way.
Well,
to
the other
me,
part
actually,
is like...
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I guess we can get into like... Okay, so there's this killer plot line we keep dancing around.
Yeah, let's just talk about it.
Even 15-year-old Greg Bellavia immediately put this one together. So sticking out like a sore thumb is Lenny's best friend, played by Tom Sizemore, who enters the film looking like a complete dirtbag.
Right.
Who could this mystery killer be? And it's clearly Tom Sizemore. And it is Tom Sizemore. That big reveal.
Greg, I have to tell you, I completely forgot about that storyline, and I did not think it was Tom Sizemore.
What?
I don't know why. I thought it was Vincent D'Onofrio. You're like, I don't think I could talk to you anymore.
Listener,
we can't be friends.
I am shocked. It's one of those things where it's like in the movie, why is this character here? And then it's because I'll be like, not to interrupt your thought process, but it felt disjointed a little bit, right? No, it did. So the killer, it's a decoy. The person that got killed is the person who did the recording of the conspiracy.
Yeah,
they need to get him out of the way.
Yeah.
And this is also being used to frame the Lenny character. So at the end of the day, it all does make sense. Yes, it comes together. It's a 2-hour, 18-minute movie. You're doing so much juggling to keep it. Could you have gotten away of just there's a killer trying to wrap up loose ends and they enjoy this technology? Sure.
Yeah.
Could you just go with the cops? Sure. Instead, it does both. Again, I think it's a more entertaining movie for it, but it also gets jumbled because of that. Now,
right.
And I enjoy it. So basically, Faith has been hooking up with this Tom Sizemore detective character on the side.
He's a private investigator. The music mogul producer manager who represents Jericho also started hooking up with Faith, gets more and more paranoid as he uses the devices to listen, to experience playback. He hires Max to follow people around. One of the people he starts having followed around is Faith, and then they start hooking up. I don't know if that made any sense.
Well, I think that, again, that is, we get it. Like, it's not that Andreas and I do not understand why this didn't connect, but like, we just wanted to talk through, there's a lot of cool stuff in here, but you got to kind of wade through so is that, I guess that's my other question is, I get that the Michael Wincott promoter character is a paranoid douchebag, so she doesn't want to be with him anymore.
Right.
I get that Lenny is needy and not attractive anymore, so she wanted to be with him. Why would you want to be with, it'd be one thing if she was hooking up with a detective and she had no feelings for the detective whatsoever. It was just it was a means to an end. And again, that would be a different story thread. But I don't get that. I get that she does kind of care. He kills and sexually assaults one of her friends, and she's still with him at the end. So
and then also, the other, so there's 2 sexual assault sort of scenes, and the other one is him doing it to Faith, but it's obvious she's kind of into it. Now, I will say, in terms of your question here, to me, I took it as this is the only way she knows how to survive, right?
I wish that was played up more then.
Because Lenny even says, when he found Faith, she was a runaway who was performing sexual acts in order to live.
Yeah.
Look, maybe I'm giving her more credit than the film is giving her. But that's why I had that question of, did she come back up in the hotel room because she knew Max was going to kill Lenny and she wanted to save him, or was it a spur of the moment? Because if she knew that Max was going to kill him and she came back up to stop it, to me that rings more true that she never liked Max and was only sort of with him as a survival tactic.
I like that version, because the other thing is that would show more loyalty to Lenny.
Yeah.
And then Lenny could legit move on. Like, she's here for you. And he realizes, this isn't the person I want Mace. As opposed to the movie kind of makes the decision for him, where it's like, oh yeah, the ex you've been hung up with, she's with a murderer now, and she's probably going to prison. So I think your reading of it is, if you, sometimes when you write, you put it on the page and you get it, but the reader's like, and then you're like, well, I put in that line.
Yeah.
So I feel like the screenwriters would be like, well, Andreas, it's in there.
Yeah.
I think that could have been like massaged maybe a little bit more, so her motivation came through. But, and what I mean by that is just that very end, like your point, she's going back up to that room. What is going through that character's head? I don't know if we know 100%.
The editing of the Max divulging everything to Lenny was odd.
There were
a lot of strange sort of jump cuts just of Max, which was not introduced anywhere else in the film, really. So I didn't know if it was their way of truncating a lot of dialogue or...
No, you're right. When the master plan's revealed, there's an artistic choice there, and I'm not sure 100% why they made that.
Who was having the most fun?
Tom Sizemore.
Completely 100% agree. I love that line when he has Lenny with the gun and he just says, "Don't make any assumptions about our friendship, Lenny."
Yep.
I also really like how subtle his performance is. His character could easily go big, but he doesn't. And even Tom Sizemore tends to go big in certain films.
No, he's charming. Even if,
and that's not a criticism of when he goes big.
No,
I actually like Tom Sizemore when he goes big, but I was surprised at how restrained he was here.
He's a lot of fun, and also I will say, look, even though I pegged him as the killer, I think Ralph Fiennes and Angela Bassett need to be worried. Like, the stakes are rising. I think it's either Cameron or Cox. I'm going to attribute to Cameron. I think that's his sensibility when it comes to crowd pleasers. He's the comic relief. Even though it ends up being like he's a murderer, his response to things or him playing off other characters, he's keeping it light even when the movie keeps getting like darker and darker and darker and darker. I appreciate him here. It's just funny. Like, I thought he just kind of stuck out in the story. To your point, he does good work. It's very well cast. He does a good job.
I had already mentioned it. I had said I had forgotten the twist that Tom Sizemore was the killer. I said I thought it was Vincent D'Onofrio. I misspoke. I thought they did a good job of setting up that it's Philo, the music manager, because they're constantly talking about his wiretap addiction.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, I thought he was the one doing it. And I think they tried to set it up that way.
Oh, 100%. 100%. That's what the movie wants you to think.
But you're just smarter than me. I get it, Craig. I get it.
I watched a shitload of Matlock when I was a kid, and there's always that. Why is this character hanging out here? Or that's the only thing.
That's true.
No, yeah. Again, it's a good screenplay. I'm not saying it's a perfect screenplay, but it's a good screenplay. Again, it was trying to, like, just like Juliette Lewis, it's trying to address her character. Why is she such a survivor? She's always been scrappy. Same thing here. They're trying to set it up where it's Philo. I get that 100%.
Yeah, who would have thought we'd be able to connect Matlock and Strange Days? Our next category is, what scene would you show someone to convince them to watch it?
Opening.
I had the opening. I feel like, the opening does a good job. I had the opening, but my first inclination was to do the scene where Lenny is trying to sell the experiences to that lawyer in the bar. Because that's a scene where, it really shows what the technology is all about. It shows Lenny's kind of character. And then when he gets when he gets interrupted by Max, it's a funny moment. And the fact that Lenny is not so taken aback by it means, A, they're really good friends, and B, like, he's not that hurting for money. However, it doesn't really show how dark the film is. So another scene I thought might be good was the scene where Lenny watches and experiences the murderer breaking into his apartment and putting the knife to his neck, and then he's experiencing that. Like, that is such a creepy scene, and to me really shows the tone of this film.
As much as I've kind of addressed like how stuff this is. That's a cool sequence. So it's like, I think the other problem is there's so much cool scenes in here.
Yeah.
I get being like, we're not cutting that. We're keeping it's all staying in. That's it. No.
It is such a great scene. Can you imagine if someone like made you watch video of POV of someone breaking in your house and then going up to you while you're sleeping and then putting a knife to your neck and leaving a mark? I mean, I would move.
Like probably a good call. Probably,
yeah. All right, our favorite t-shirt quotes. Now let's keep it a small list, Greg. We can't do the whole script.
No, the script is great. There's a lot of good stuff. But I mean, this is your life right here, right now. It's real time. You hear me? Real time. Boom. That's all right. If you need to shorten that just to right here, right now, we could do that.
That's a good one. I had a couple, but yeah, I love Boot It. I think is just a great one that I think a lot of people would understand if they've seen the film. The other one I really dug is a line from Angela Bassett, "Calm down, baby. This is what I do." I think would be my pick.
Coolest human on earth. That's
Yeah. But there were some other good lines. I mean, one man's mundane and desperate existence is another man's technicolor was pretty good too.
Rams, that's football, right? You're on foot in LA. Are you crazy? And then when he jumps on the hood of the car, I'm having trouble hearing the stereo. No, it's tricky to write expository dialogue that like sings, and I feel like the whole movie just moves. It's over 2 hours. I could have watched another 45 minutes. This could have hit 3 hours easy, and I would have been fine.
Another line I do want to shout out, and this is Angela Bassett when she's basically telling Lenny to live in the real world. She says, "These are hushed emotions. It's time to trade them in."
Great. And also, like, that's a lovely line, but you need somebody to sell it because that can come off really clunky.
Absolutely.
And she does. It's great.
No, she is sensational in this film.
All right. Can I? I'm sorry. I'm looking at my notes because I wanted to go into like I know what's coming up, but like,
sure.
I had the club that Philo runs. I just want to touch on that real fast.
Sure. Let's do it. Let's do it. Are you putting that up for Oscar nomination or no? I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Because you've got an act on the stage.
Yes.
Andreas, do you remember some of the other things that are happening in the club at the same time? Because this viewing, I really was like, hey, wait, what's happening?
It was like S&M type stuff.
Yes. Yep.
In one corner.
You get the gist of it.
Yeah.
It's a 90s industrial club.
Right.
Behind a chain link fence, there's a Nazi book burning.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's right.
Why is there a Nazi book burning? There are guys in brown shirts like Nazis walking around books that they're setting on fire. Is the crowd cheering them on? Is the crowd like, boo, Nazi, don't burn that book?
That definitely rings different in 2025.
There was a person ironing.
What?
We're just ironing. They're behind.
That.
I'll have to play. It happens for like 3 seconds. I had to rewind. There's just a person ironing some clothes.
That's amazing.
While there's a band up on the stage. So I want to know everything there is to know about this club and the various acts they have going on around the club. So look, if you've seen the movie, go back to when he goes in the club. There's various very interesting things happening off.
All right, the S&M guys show up at 9. We got the book burning at 9:30. Our ironing guy is going to be here at 10.
The ironing guy wants his money to advance this time. So.
Yeah. I did not notice the ironing guy. Yes, the book burning I saw, and I felt uncomfortable about it. Yes.
I don't know what you're supposed to feel based off that.
Right.
Actually, okay. All right. Well, with that, on to our Oscar nomination.
Yeah. Who you got?
Angela Bassett, Best Supporting Actress.
Is it Angela Bassett?
Angela Bassett, coolest human alive award. So
I wanted to go a little different because I mean she's the answer, but I wanted to give a shout out to the cinematography.
Oh.
Again, the POV stuff was revolutionary at that time. They had to create special Steadicams, special rigs. It had never really been done this way before. To get that footage, it's just a massive undertaking. I think Oscar nomination, cinematography, it was by Matthew F. Leonetti. He was also the DP on Poltergeist and Commando.
Oh, wow. Okay. I mean, I love Commando for being Commando. Poltergeist is a classic, but I wouldn't expect the DP of either one of those to pull this out because it looks great in a different way. The look and feel of this film, it makes up for a lot of its sins, let's say. We're nitpicking because we have time to watch the movie and mull over whatever. Just sitting down, I love that Letterboxd review. This is an adrenaline shot. And a lot of that's how it looks. And even the moving camera or like Lenny's like nervous face or whatever, there's always something happening, and you've got action beats, you've got horror. It's covering like a wide range of emotions, and everything looks like $1 million.
Okay, our last category, crew shout out.
I went with, one sec, I found my notes on the ironing in the club. Okay, Lily Kilvert, the production designer.
Sorry, I thought you were gonna say you actually looked up the ironing person at the club, and that's who you were gonna shout out.
I do want to shout that person out, but that's
Wait,
not
did you look them up? You found out who they were?
No.
Oh,
I'm saying
okay.
in general, I think that's my if there's any discovery on a rewatch, that's my discovery of this rewatch. Lily Kilvert, the production designer, who also did Last Samurai, Legends of the Fall, The Crucible, and more recently Marco Polo, which was a gorgeous looking show. And I just think
those are
the
some
movie
great.
looks great. And
those are great
love this
credits.
vision of like slightly in the future Los Angeles.
Those are amazing credits. I'm going to shout out. I already tipped my hat to the cinematography, so I'm going to shout out the assistant camera Glenn Brown, who's also assistant camera on Traffic, the Soderbergh film, 8 Mile, and Collateral.
Okay, well, great credits too. Yeah. Also, one more shout, I just wasn't sure where to put it. On the soundtrack, Skunk Anansie with Selling Jesus. That song rips. And that's used in one of the trailers you can find on YouTube towards the back half. I remember that as a kid being like, this movie looks amazing. And then when we were in preparation for this podcast, I've had that blasting. I think that's overall underrated band, but like that tune's fantastic.
They have really good songs. Great shout out. Is there anything else you wanted to touch on?
If you're fans and you're here, I just hope you enjoyed it as much as us. If you haven't seen it and it sounds interesting, check it out. And again, maybe you'll love it. Even if it's not your thing, I think there's a ton to enjoy in here. And I think it's a weird kind of outlier in Bigelow's resume that has a lot of fascinating flicks in it.
It did not do well when it was released. We had mentioned that people didn't connect with it, but it was considered a flop. But it definitely has a cult following now. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. Well, thanks everyone for listening. That brings us to the end of this episode. If you enjoyed what you heard, please support by leaving a like or review on whatever platform you listen to podcasts. You can find us on Bluesky and Instagram. If you want to reach out and send a comment, you can email us at reeldeemers@gmail.com. Our music is by Adolfo Delanoy. You can check him out on Instagram at Adolfo Delanoy. That's DELANNOY. Thanks again and be safe.